Hi again then guys, and welcome to another speed build on Forza Horizon 3, this time for a car which in all of its forms, some of which we have covered before like the SRT version, the ACR, it's a very strong car. It's always a strong car on every game that it's featured on. The Dodge Viper in particular, this is kind of the first generation. Technically I think it is first generation. I personally consider the RT10 to be the true first generation. That's still my favourite Viper ever. This one though is where the Viper went from being a pretty cool sports car to something for other companies to really worry about. Because both on the road and in motorsport, this is an incredibly competitive vehicle in real life and on games. And people do tend to underestimate just how good this car was and still is because of the newer versions that have come out since. Now, I would recommend that 1500 horsepower engine conversion, pretty much goes without saying there. For the drivetrain, of course, again, I would recommend all-wheel drive to get all of that power down. For the aspiration, twin turbo, of course. And then for the rest, increase the power as high as you can, lower the weight within reason as much as you can, and fit everything to the car that is race spec. So the gearbox, the suspension, the brakes, the tyres, all that kind of good stuff. I would not, as you can see, recommend the front or rear wing. It's just not necessary for a top speed tune. That's more for handling. And as you can also see, I have fitted it with a roll cage. You don't necessarily have to, but I opted to. Now for the benchmark, you're looking at 2.2 to 60, 4.3 to 100, and 270 flat out. So it's not quite as quick as some of its rivals, perhaps. Certainly not as quick as, say, the C5 Corvette, which is a monster, but it's not far off. Not far off at all. 270 is not slow by any means. It can definitely give plenty of much newer cars a great run for their money. Now for the gearbox, I would recommend a 3.15 final drive, then individual gears as you can see, which will be familiar to anyone who's used most of my tunes before. 2.9 for first, then 2, 1.5, 1.17, 0.95 and 0.78. Then as far as alignment, neutral, camber and tow, 4 degrees of caster. You could take it higher or lower, in this case it depends on your driving style. For anti-roll, we've got those on 32 and 25. Springs on 166, 222, and the lowest ride height front and rear. Dampers on 13, 16, 6 and 7. Aero does not apply for this one. And for the diff, as you can see, I've actually opted for 100% on both acceleration and deceleration, which I don't usually do, but for this one I have. Then for the center split, we've got 80%. So fairly tail happy, but not totally. Now this tune is on my storefront, so you can use the keywords down below in the description to find it quickly and easily. But for now, of course, let's actually take this monster out on the road to see what it's capable of. Now, it goes without saying that a Viper is always going to be quick, and this car is extremely quick, and I have no doubt, to be honest, if you do extend that final drive or your final gear a little bit more, you could definitely get it to go even quicker, at least with draft and going downhill, if not under its own power. Because as you can see, it's doing 270 no problem, and it is bouncing around on the red line. So by all means, try and take this tune even further. That's what I like people to do, that's the whole point of it, and that's sometimes why I don't tune the car to be even better. This one, for instance, you could quite easily make it go faster, but I like to leave you guys with something to do for yourself so that you can personalise the tune more. Now, as far as the handling with the 80% split, which is predominantly to give the car good high-speed manoeuvrability, which it does have, it might be a little bit too skittish and too light on the front end for some people, especially at lower speeds. So if you do find that, by all means, lower it to 75% or even a 70% split in favour of the back end. But overall, if you do decide to use this tune or a variation of it, I hope you have a lot of fun with it. And of course, there are literally hundreds more tunes like this here on the channel. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.